Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing with you a speed build that I did that is basically the Parr family house from The Incredibles. Now this is the house from the first Incredibles movie. If you guys want me to build the house from The Incredibles 2, I can try my best, but just letting you know that the roofline on that house is insane and I definitely won't be able to make it very accurate. So let me know in the comments if you want me to build that one. But I thought since I did Edna's mansion that I should just go ahead and build the Parr's home. So now you can have both of them in your world if you find that as like something you want to play with in your game. Now you can have both of them for any type of storyline you want to go with. So with this house, there was a lot of difficulties trying to figure out the floor plan. You guys know that Disney and like Pixar movies, the exterior of the house normally does not match what they create for like the indoor shots that they do, I guess. So from the exterior of the house, it's extremely long, like width-wise across the property, and it's really not that large from front to back. So based on watching the film and kind of going through the parts where the family's in the house and where you kind of get like multiple views on the living room, the hallway, the kitchen, the dining room, all that stuff, it just doesn't match up. So I actually found a floor plan that someone had made. I found it on Google. I can see if I can add the link to it, but basically their floor plan kind of fit with the shape of the house from the exterior, but as far as how the house is shown from the inside, it just doesn't quite match up. So I'm gonna try and explain the difference here because I know that's probably pretty confusing. So if you guys remember during the movie when Helen and Bob are like arguing in the living room, it's like during the first probably hour of the movie, maybe even like 45 minutes or something. They're arguing in the living room, and after they find out that Violet and Dash were both listening to them, they tell them to go to bed, and the whole family basically walks down that first hallway as if all of their rooms are towards the front of the house, which definitely does not work with the shape of the house. You cannot fit 3 bedrooms at the front of the house right in that one area. So that's why I had to add on the right side of the house with that extra hallway, the extra 2 hallways technically that I just added those doorways to lead to Violet and Dash's room. So technically they walked through this hallway that I just placed doors on, but you guys know that just would not work with the shape of the house, and then this whole left side of the house would basically have nothing there. So throughout the film, the rooms that we see are the entryway dining room area. Then we see the kitchen, we see the living room and this back hallway right here. And then we see Bob and Helen's bedroom and Bob's office. Those are kind of like the only areas of the house that we see. And based on kind of looking through the movie, I realized that Bob's office is actually down in the basement. So my whole life when I watched this movie, I always thought that his office was this extra doorway right off of the living room, but it's not. It's actually in the basement where they also have their laundry units. So when it got to like the inside of doing this house, I had to get a little creative with just figuring out the rooms and what obviously Violet and Dash's rooms would look like, since we didn't see those, and I'm not entirely sure if we actually saw their rooms in the newest film. I didn't look it up either. I probably could have and then found a better way to decorate their rooms, but I just did the rooms how I had imagined that they might look in the first movie. And in case you guys didn't know, I think this movie takes place in like the 60s or 70s and like the early beginning, and then we get kind of closer to the 80s or something, like after the weird like black and white video flashback. So their house is actually like mid-century modern style of house. And if you look at the exterior of the house, like if you Google their house, you notice that the windows actually extend all the way up to the top of the roof. So most of the windows up there are technically like, I guess, like slanted triangle shaped windows, which we don't have in The Sims. So I just kind of had to use these base game rectangular windows and have them up towards like the top of the ceiling. That's the best I could do. And also figuring out this entryway spot of the house was really difficult because from far away it looks like that red wall is the front door, but their door is actually on that left wall. So I don't know why they have like a random red wall there. That's really weird. But I tried my best to match the color with what we had. So it's a little off from the red color that's on the front door, but it's fine. It doesn't matter. So the only time we actually see the back of the house is after that scene where everyone goes to bed. They kind of add in a pan shot of the top of the house, kind of zooming back, so you can see like the roof of the house and then kind of like this back wall from like really, really far away. So it was kind of hard to figure out how like the depth of this back room from that one shot where you're looking really, really far away. So I did my best to kind of fit it in how I thought it would be. And then the kitchen windows are obviously, they kind of wrap around that wall, which we can see from like the first 5 minutes of the movie when Helen is washing Jack in the sink. I think the actual layout of this house is really interesting. I'm not entirely sure what mid-century modern houses look like back then when they're this big, because I've tried building a few in The Sims, I'm sure you guys have noticed, but most of them are like really small, like half the size of this house. So I thought it was actually really interesting trying to build a really big house like this one. And especially because it's just so different from the inside versus like what they show in the film. I felt like I made the house 10 times bigger than it actually was, but like with the proportions, that's just kind of how it felt like it was supposed to be. Like the living room in the film doesn't look abnormally large. Like it looks like a normal sized living room, but then when you go into the game and you start building it and you realize how much space there is that you need to fit to also have like those extra bedrooms on that left side of the house that we're looking at, it gets to be like really, really big. And I couldn't size it down any because this backside, it was supposed to bump out further than the kitchen. And then I also made the dining room is like huge. It's enormous, and I couldn't make it any smaller because obviously with Bob and Helen's room being at the front of the house, it had to be long enough where you can fit a bed and a dresser on opposite walls, as well as the hallway. So it kind of just kept elongating that whole interior, which kind of made the dining room like 10 times bigger. But that's just how it had to be. So you guys will notice there's like a lot of empty space in the dining room, just on the like front wall, but there was really nothing on that front wall besides it just being like made of stone and having those windows up there. So I didn't want to add anything that wasn't there in the house. I was trying to make it as accurate as possible from what we saw inside of the film. So that's why there's going to be a lot of like empty space. And then as far as the garage, from the like overhead view that we get of the house, the garage extends from the front of the house like all the way to the back of the house. Like, that's a huge garage and extremely long. But when you see the inside of the garage, when you're watching the film, every time Bob pulls in his like brand new fancy car or like leaves for work or whatever, it's like a normal size garage. So I don't know what they have in that second like back room of the garage. And I know it's not a gym and it doesn't have like workout equipment, but I put that in there anyway because I literally had no idea what else to put back there. And we know that Bob didn't do his workouts in the house. Like, he went out and did training like at the train yard and stuff like that. So I added a gym in there anyway, just because it's convenient for your Sims if you plan on using this house for like the Incredibles, and having Bob there, being able to work out there. It's probably 10 times easier than trying to take him to the gym. So that's what I did with that second half of the garage in the back there. And in this living room, the fireplace area I wish looked better, because it's technically up on a platform at like the same height as the whole rest of the front of the house. The living room is like the only area that's kind of dropped down from a platform. So the fireplace technically juts out from the wall, but I couldn't stick the fireplace on that exterior wall because of the platform, and I didn't want to push it out anymore. So the fireplace is just kind of pushed back into that little area, and I think it's fine. I just wish it could have looked a little bit better. The other thing about this living room is we noticed from a few scenes, like from the montage where Bob is like hanging out with his family more and stuff like that, the back windows of the house are actually like this orangey light wood color instead of the black wood, which is on like the rest of the windows in the front of the house. So I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if that was just like a animation error trying to make the windows fit in with the interior more, but the exterior, they're really black to match the rest of the house. I have no idea. So I made them that way anyway. And then some of the other windows are black on the outside, and then some of them, like the kitchen ones, are white. That's one thing that I wish we had in The Sims, was to change the interior color of the windows instead of it being the same color inside and outside, because most of the time that's not accurate. Like, there's a lot of houses that I've seen looking up where the exterior of the windows are like white, and then the inside it's a black frame, or like vice versa, where the exterior is a black frame and the inside is a white frame. Like, sometimes I want the inside of the windows to be white, just to kind of match the rest of the inside of the house, and then from the exterior I would like them to be black because it would look better like that on the outside, but we can't do that either in The Sims. So this is the way it has to be. So this whole living room area and hallway we can see from that one scene where Bob comes home and then Helen and him have an argument. So we can kind of see that there's like a table unit next to the fireplace, and then there's like a little console table on that hallway wall. And then over here is the kitchen on the opposite side of that little half wall. I actually think the kitchen shape here is really interesting. I find it to be actually unique and very eye-pleasing, I guess. Aesthetically pleasing. The way that it kind of like sections off an area from the dining room, and the counters kind of wrap around into the dining room, but like a different color. And then you also have the side door that kind of divides the two areas as well. So I thought that was pretty interesting and unique, and I love the way that turned out. So in the film, this front area, they have like almost, it's not really a bookcase, it's more like a shelf that they have placed like this next to the door, which is really weird. I don't know if it's supposed to be almost like a divider between the entryway and the dining room, but that was like a weird thing that I really don't like seeing in my build the way it is, but I added it there to make it more accurate. I feel like it would have made more sense if the bookcase was turned to be up against the wall instead of like just kind of being there in that spot. It just seems like a weird spot. And then with their kitchen table, they probably really had like a normal size table to fit 4 chairs, but because the dining room was so enormous and long, I just kind of added in a longer table anyway so that it would fit the space a little bit better and it wouldn't look so weird and dinky in there. And so yeah, I added in like a bunch of the decorations on the shelves that they had, a few paintings which I'm sure weren't actually there. I just added them to add something on those walls so it wasn't so boring. And I think it turned out okay. Turned out decent. But anyway, I was trying to keep with like what kind of style of furniture they also had in the film. So I found that these chairs that are from, I think it's Snowy Escape, I think we got those chairs from. I felt like those matched the actual dining room chairs that they had in the film as best as possible. And then obviously that table was the closest match I could get to the wood color. So yeah, I think it turned out okay. And then this front entryway area really, again, it really didn't have much there, so it's just kind of an open space. And then in the kitchen on the island, in the film they actually had like, it was almost like a glass case dome type of thing that was like supposed to be like a dessert like case or display or something like that, but it was like built into the counter, which I thought was really interesting. So I ended up putting just like the random little cake dessert case that we got from, I think it was like Get Together, and I definitely feel like it would fit the vibe better if it was actually built into the counter, because that's kind of sick. But I just put it on the counter so that it would be there, and since it was there like in that main part of the film when Bob gets home. So I thought it was a good touch as well. And also the green cabinets, that was the closest color I could get to what they were, which I actually love this green color. It's like a darker sage type color, but I think in the movie they were actually a little bit brighter, but not quite as bright as the neon green that we have for the base game counters. So I just used these because I felt like they looked nicer anyway. And we really don't see much of the kitchen besides it just kind of being in the background or when we see Bob kind of walk through it. So I just kind of added a few things where I thought they would be placed, just to add a bit more to it. And then this entryway, we know for sure that there was like a coat rack on that wall, but I don't think there was actually like an entryway table there. I just added it so that we would have something there and it wasn't just open and plain and boring, which I find is a lot of the areas of this house, most of it just seems like there's nothing there, which I'm sure was probably better for like the animators when they're making the movie. They didn't have to add too much detail because it's just in the background, you know, it's not something that you really focus on. So as far as like a build and trying to use the house for gameplay, you definitely want to add a bit more stuff to the house just so that it doesn't look so open and random. So this is Bob's office, which is down in the basement. It's definitely a very small room, and we know from the film that he likes to keep all memorabilia and like all things pertaining to supers on the walls and on the shelves in there. So I kind of cluttered it up with as much stuff as I could find that would fit with that whole theme. And I found that little DJ poster that's in like the top right hand corner of that wall actually fits perfectly, almost to be like a super villain type of thing, almost like Bob would have found this poster and said, oh, I defeated him one time, I put him in jail, something like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I think from the film they still have like a bunch of boxes just kind of stacked up in there from stuff that they haven't quite unpacked yet from their move. And in the basement, they also have the laundry area, and then there's just like a random double door closet that's at the end of the hallway. And then I also just added an extra bathroom down there, since it seemed like the hallway was longer and it went past the stairs on this side. So I just added a bathroom down there anyway, so that it would be easy access to Bob when he's in the middle of doing some work in his office. I also found that these walls from, I think it's Get to Work, or no, maybe it's Dine Out. Those walls that I had in the basement actually work perfectly for like basement walls, where it's like the really long paneling that's just kind of there, almost like my grandparents had it in their old house. It's almost like soundproofing, but it's just like on the walls and it's not something you can take down. I don't even know what it is, but anyway, that's kind of what they had in the film, so I think that wallpaper works really well for it also. And right here at the end of the hallway, this is Bob and Helen's room. So based on the placement of the windows, this is kind of where the room is at the front of the house. And technically from the film, they made it sound like Violet and Dash's rooms were in like behind off of this same hallway, but based on the shape of the house, that's just like impossible to fit that in there. The dining room would have been 10 times longer, the kitchen would have been huge, that hallway in front of the living room would have been ginormous, so it just wouldn't have worked. So I made the shape of their room the same as it was in the film, and then I just kind of fit in whatever I could fit in. It's not as wide as it was, but I did as best as I could do. And then this is Dash's room, so I have his down at the end of the second hallway past the basement staircase. So his room, I was kind of keeping it like darker. I would imagine that a little boy's room like him, he would probably have a lot of toys, and I would assume that I assumed he would like the color blue. I know that he wears like red, and that's like their family's, obviously, like that's their color, but I felt like the blue kind of fit him a little bit better. And I added in like a bunch of posters for him, and then one of these like mid-century type rugs that we got from Get Famous. And then down here at the opposite hallway, this is Violet's room. Obviously I had to put some purple in there because I felt like that just kind of fit her. Not just because that's her name, I just feel like that would be her color. And since she's a very like private, like shy type person, I kept a lot of her furniture kind of darker colored as well, because I think that would fit her personality better. And then I did add a desk in her room since I think she's in high school, so that she can do her schoolwork and things in her room, and she wouldn't have to go like down into Bob's office to use a computer or something. So she has her own desk in her room, and I just added in like a chair and some like a little bit of wall decoration just to bring in a little bit more of the purple. So I think I'm getting here to the end of the video almost. We've got like a few more minutes left before we get into the screenshots, but I don't have too much more to talk about with this. This is Jack's room. I did put in the baby crib, and then when I got into gameplay, I realized that he would obviously be like a toddler in the game, so I switched it out for a toddler bed in the screenshots, you'll notice. But that's pretty much the whole build. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one, and if you plan on using it, let me know in the comments. I tried my very best to make it look amazing and as accurate as possible. It's definitely a huge house, so you'll need to place it on a pretty big lot. I placed it in the Get Famous world, so just for reference, that's the lot that I placed it on. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want me to make their newer second house from the second film, and I can probably add that up on the hill in the Get Famous world as well, kind of near Edna Mode's mansion where I built hers. But I will let you guys enjoy the rest of the video and enjoy the screenshots. And just as a reminder, I think I am gonna start doing YouTube shorts here shortly, so keep an eye out for those. I definitely want to upload those so that you guys have some shorter videos to watch, and you'll see more videos uploaded from me more recent. So I hope you guys enjoy, and if you did like the video, give it a little like, and if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please click that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye guys!